Some of these composers were published. People like Fela Shawande, for instance, were very popular in Britain in the 30s, 40s and 50s, 1930s to 50s, and his music was published. It's still available in some form, especially his organ works, but his larger works seem to have fallen out of favour for various reasons. If publishers tend not to keep things in print forever. Musicians, especially classical musicians, are always looking for new repertoire. And lots of people I've spoken to simply don't know this music exists, and they are interested. As long as we then make the steps to go and find it once we know it's there, we can keep this music from being lost completely.
When I first started learning to play the double bass, most African bass players were jazz musicians. I think it's true to say that I'm the first African classical double bass player. It was something completely new to me and to everybody else around me. Nobody expected me actually to flourish playing this instrument. I remember being told that this is not the sort of thing for people like you. This was in apartheid South Africa. But I loved the instrument from day one, and I worked 10 hours a day to make it work. And I realized that I was born to play this instrument.
In 2012, we started a tour in the UK, and we performed in many important venues. And Julian Lloyd-Webber is a very big champion of British music, and so I was introduced to a new classical repertoire, which I hadn't known until then. And he came with the idea whether there was any piano music by Nigerian composers. And so I started investigating, and I discovered that there was a whole group of Nigerian classical composers that emerged in the 20th century, creating Nigerian art music.
I began to realize that as an African, I never played music by African composers for double bass. And it soon became clear that the reason I didn't do that was because there wasn't any music written for me or for anybody else as a bass player by African composers. That then became a little mission for me. I decided to ask some of my friends that I'd studied with in my early years in South Africa, who were composers, to write for me.